But like just yesterday, Joe, we were talking about Kansas State, Iowa State back in August to kick off week 0 of the college football season. Today is January 15th, and we have just a few more days until the final college football game this season. And two teams facing off that I don't think anyone had the exacta for this one, with Indiana looking to finish their crazy undefeated season, number one overall in the country, 15-0, creating one of the crazier stories in I think sports history, one of the craziest turnarounds for sure in sports history. And then they play number 10 Miami, who comes in at 13-2. Miami doesn't even play in their own conference title game. Everyone thought they were out until the last day, and then they get in over Notre Dame. Obviously, all the debates from that. I feel like we should have known that they were going to go to the title game after everyone had the outrage about that. But the committee sitting there licking their chops that Miami's all the way to the national title game, and you get to play this Indiana team that it's weird to say like that, like them being the underdog, like hypothetically, just because of it's Indiana football, but how good they've been all year. It's like the logo on the helmet. You're not really to wrap your head around it still, but Miami too, looking for a program to be officially back and amongst the big boys and contenders going forward there with Mario. So a lot of cool storylines headed into this one. It's been a wild season. Hard to believe we're already here though.
Yeah, when you can get it to a point where Indiana losing this game would be a disappointment. Obviously, I know Indiana fans will say it's not a disappointment. I get it. But from the sense of Indiana right now is an 8.5 point favorite. Like this would be a major upset if Miami football beats Indiana football. Like it's very impressive to see what they've done. We've talked about it a ton. Indiana is incredible. Miami, I will give them a lot of credit. I thought they were dead in terms of the national title standpoint after that SMU loss. I thought they were going to lose at least one more game. They turned it around, and here they are now on the doorstep. But I do laugh when I see all of these videos from all the I saw something on ESPN. I was at the gym today, and it was, will Indiana be Miami's biggest test this season? It's the national championship game. Yes. I don't care who they're playing. Yes, it is the biggest test of the season. But I'm really looking forward to this game. Obviously, being the last game of the year, Coyle, like you said, it's, feels like the season went by just like that, as it always does. But I feel like it's starting to go by faster. I don't know what it is over these last couple of years, even though we have so much more football now with the 12-team playoff, with the playoff going longer. It still feels like this season zipped on by. But I am really intrigued, and I don't even want to start writing this off like I already think it's going to be a blowout, but I'm intrigued to see if Miami can keep it close when so many other great teams have just failed to do that with this Indiana team this year.
Yeah, it's every time you say it out loud, it's hard to believe, but just going to do the math on it real quick. I think I saw it was 36.5 points per game is the difference. 34, they won by 34, 35. If they're two playoff games.
Yes.
Yeah, 34.5 points per game. This Indiana team is winning, and that's over Alabama and that's over Oregon. So pretty wild that here we are, Joe. But like you're saying, would it be a disappointment? Like, I like that conversation because I think we had this conversation like Eagles fans back in whatever it was, 2022, when they went to the Super Bowl, and going into the year, a lot of people didn't expect that. That wasn't really on the radar. It was kind of hoped to make the playoffs, win a playoff game. That would have been a success. But you get to the Super Bowl, the game is that crazy, and you fall short 38-35. You're telling me we weren't disappointed. It's like, sure, it was a good season, a fun season, but you're still there. Like, I think expectations have to change throughout. Like, sure, people will look back on this Indiana season for history and be like, wow, that was, last year was great. The year that they got to the playoff and Cignetti got them kind of on the map and on the right track. But then to get to the playoff this year, get to the Big Ten title game, win the Big Ten title game, go undefeated, go all the way on this crazy run to the national championship. And then if you were to lose as a 8.5 point favorite to this Miami team, like, I would be disappointed at the end of the day. You're going to look back and be like, all right, that's a great memory. But I think your view on the season has to change as you go throughout. It's like, all right, this team's been number one in the country, for the last few weeks. And obviously they were right there with Ohio State the entire season. expectations have to change. And for all Signetti, like you're telling me Signetti's not walking into that locker room like pissed off and disappointed that they lost.
Yes.
And he's just walking around like, oh, great season, guys. Like we'll get him next year. Like you never know if you're going to be back. You never know if all the pieces are going to click and mesh this well. I mean, look at Ryan Day and all the success he's had at Ohio State last year, his only national title game. Like the really, in our lifetime, only super sustainable coach for national championships has been Saban. Like Kirby's got what, 2, and then he's fallen short the past few years. So
Look at
I
Dabo.
think, yeah, I think disappointment is definitely right up the alley there for Indiana fans. So when you look at the game, Joe, Indiana 8.5-point favorite, over under sitting there 47.5. Opened at 7.5. The total opened at 48.5. But Indiana, key to the game for them in terms of winning this game, and how did they get that first national championship?
I think if they continue to dominate on the line of scrimmage, even with their undersized and under-talented guys, and I'm using air quotes obviously because you can only be under-talented so much until you're going out in the field and just dominating guys for 4 quarters. I think the biggest thing is they can control the line of scrimmage like they've been doing all season long. Because that was the one thing Miami was able to separate from all these other schools. Like Miami dominated, especially their pass rush was just all over Ole Miss, Ohio State, everyone. If Indiana can kind of prevent that, I think they'll be just fine in this game. I'm going to take Indiana to win. I'll take Miami to cover that 8.5 just because I don't know. Miami has definitely earned my respect after you and I thought they were going to fall, way short this year. So I'll go Indiana 31, Miami 23. So I'll give it an 8-point game. I'll go with the over because I was texting with my friends. I thought Indiana, Oregon was going to go way under, and Indiana hit it on their own. And I actually said to my one friend on the phone, yeah, but I don't think Indiana's going to hit it by themselves like they have the last couple of games. What do you know? They hit the overall by themselves. But I am going to go with Indiana to win their first national championship in school history. The Cinderella run, the storybook ending will be complete. And Signetti and this Indiana team in general, you'll have to talk about them, especially I have Miami covering this game. But let's say they go out there again and win like 45-21. You're going to have to start to talk about this Indiana team as one of the best of all time. And I know a lot of people kind of get uncomfortable with that. And, they think, well, we just saw it with 2019 LSU. And who knows if COVID didn't exist in 2020, that 2020 Bama team could have been right up there as well. But if you just go through their schedule and just how dominant they were, besides that Penn State game where they needed that late touchdown to win it, every other game, Iowa scored late to make it a 5-point game, but they win out of Oregon by 10. They dominate Illinois, who at the time was number 9 in the country, 63-10. Then, they smoke Alabama and Oregon in the playoff. They win a close game against what everyone was saying was far and away the number 1 team in the country in Ohio State. I think you got to talk about this Indiana team as one of the all-time great teams. I won't go as far as say they're the best team. I still think that 2019 LSU team was insane. Obviously, I was still a baby when the 01 Miami team was rolling. Those early 2000 Miami teams are kind of talked about in there with 2019 LSU. But I do think Indiana's going to win this game. I think Mendoza's going to have another great game. I think you're going to get a lot of tears after the title game. It's going to be another one of those weird, post-game interviews. Signetti might finally crack a smile. He might finally laugh a little bit, but I think Miami's going to keep it close. I guess I respect Miami too much to just say, oh, Indiana minus 8.5. But at the same time, I don't know how you look at Indiana those last 2 games. Luke texted us. He goes, how do you bet Miami to do anything after the way Indiana smoked Oregon? So I don't know. I'll take Miami to cover, but I'm not very confident in that bet.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at LSU in 2019 to this team, obviously talent-wise, top-end talent, I think LSU has them there with Jamar, with Burrow, with Justin Jefferson, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the list goes on and on for that team. But when you just look at like a complete total team-wise, like this Indiana team might just be more well-rounded. I think they're better on the offensive line. Definitely think they're more well-coached with Cignetti and that coaching staff compared to Coach O. Coach O kind of was in like that Nick Sirianni type role where it's like, all right, just find a way to not really mess the game up, motivate your players to go out there and play well. But like just overall team wise, this Indiana team might just be a better collection of team players, the discipline that they have, the togetherness that they play with. It seems like each and every play of the game that they're on the right steps, even like little things. Like I remember last week, Mendoza had a bad fumble and who was trailing behind the play? One of Indiana's offensive linemen right there to scoop up a fumble. Just little things like that where some guys might be taking it lazy, might be taking a play or two off. They might not be there in that spot. Indiana's just found a way to do that all year. So for the sake of my sanity and my life of not getting ambushed by these Miami Hurricanes fans, I definitely need them to lose this game, but definitely hats off to them. I'm Carson Beck, for all the bad stuff I've talked about him. I think he showed in the middle of the season kind of why I said those things about him, why I was so against him in those two really bad games that he had and multiple interceptions in those games, game costly interceptions. And throughout the playoffs, the defense and the running game have really, allowed him to just be more so of a game manager. But last week he goes on and he has that game-winning drive at the end. So hats off to him. But now against this Indiana team, a defense that he certainly hasn't seen the entire season, what can he do if he's forced to throw the ball a little bit more? I mean, we saw even Dante Moore last week, who was one of the top players in the country this year, really struggle against that Indiana defense. They're so well prepared. They're so instinctive. You just have to lean on them. And it was my take on them for the past two games. At this point, why bet against them? Like you kind of just mentioned with Luke and taking Miami spread anything. Sure, Miami's played great. They have the top-end talent, I think, to compete in this game for sure. But what has Indiana done at all to say, you know what, I think somebody else can actually hang around with them? They've just beaten the brakes off of these couple teams the past few weeks, and those couple teams being Oregon and Alabama, not Southeast Alabama and, Northwestern State. These are legit top-level college football programs, and Indiana's beating the brakes off of them every single week. So I think they continue on this week. I think Miami probably hangs around a little closer than some of these other teams. I'm going to go Indiana like 35-21. So we're going to go Indiana cover in there, that 8.5 for sure. And I'll also go with the over because I do think as weird as it sounds, if Miami's going to win this game, they're going to have to go score for score because this Indiana team has just been so good on the offensive side of the ball and also force some turnovers to get extra possessions. They're going to have to be able to go score for score. I don't think this is going to be a game that we're playing like 13-10 like we saw in the Big Ten title game. So give me Indiana to win. Give me Indiana to cover, and I'll take the over as well in one of the crazier college football seasons that we've ever seen in college football stories of all time with the Hoosiers wrapping up there and getting the national title. But, Joe, any last-second comments before we head out and put a bow on this year's college football season?
After this, start getting ready for March. It's right around the corner. I know it sounds crazy, but we're, probably 2 months from now, we'll be getting ready for, the brackets to come out, talking conference tournaments and everything. It's just crazy how quick it goes by every year.
Yep, exactly. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in all season. Always a fun weekly chat here with Joe. Appreciate you guys. Please please subscribe. Football is king on Pick Swap Media. We'll be rolling throughout the entire offseason. We're going to hit on a bunch of portal stuff, coaching moves, all that good stuff. So still hitting on some college football and some draft as well as NFL talk. But thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll talk soon.